Greetings. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all had an amazing summer, and I know back to school season's here, but I'm excited. I'm excited to start second year med school. And yeah, in today's video, it's going to be a fun one. We're going to do something different, trying to do some creative music, medicine, and just combine those two things together. Because I was playing around with my stethoscope the other day, just like any casual med student, and I thought to myself, this shit's fire. The idea came to me that, what if I made an actual beat out of heartbeats? So I scoured around the internet endlessly to find some samples that weren't recorded by a freaking potato, but that seemed to be the case and made my life a little bit more difficult in the music production world. So I want to get into a little bit about each sample and how they're related to the heart and medicine. So the first two sounds I want to talk about are relating to the lungs. They're called egophony and bronchophony. Yes, I know that they are lung sounds and they're from the lung exam, but they do relate to the heart in some cases because in these sounds, it means that there is fluid in the lungs. And sometimes when the heart has some problems with it, it increases fluid buildup in the lungs, and you hear these two sounds. Now the first one, egophony, is very interesting because a normal sounding lung, when you tell someone to say the letter E, sounds something like this. But if there's the off chance that there's fluid in the lungs, this changes the sound qualities and makes that E sound like an A, and it sounds something like this. Now the second sound I want to talk about is called bronchophony. Now this is where you get the patient to say a word such as 99. And in a normal sounding lungs, it sounds like muffled because sound doesn't travel very well through air. But in a lung with fluid inside of it, sound travels a lot better. So when you hear it on a patient, it sounds something like this, which means that there's fluid inside the lung. So the third lung sound that I want to talk about that kind of relates to fluid buildup inside the lungs is a low-pitched wheeze. And it relates to fluid and heart failure kind of because whenever you hear a wheezing sound, it means that there's some sort of constriction of the airways, whether that's inflammation or fluid buildup or pus. So it relates to the heart in some cases because during heart failure, you can get fluid buildup in the lungs. And I totally forgot to say, this is how a low-pitched wheeze sounds. Cool. Let's get on to the heart sounds. So the first heart sound I want to talk about is first heart sound splitting. Now, if you remember, you have your lub and your dub, and those are your heart sounds that you can audibly hear on a stethoscope. There are other ones, but we're not going to get into that. But the first heart sound can sometimes be split. And splitting is very difficult to train your ears, but it sounds like a snap that is offset. Something like this. So a perfectly unsplit sound sounds like this. Ooh, that was good. I got that on my first try. So heart sound splitting occurs when the heart valves that cause those heart sounds close at different times. Now this can be normal or it can also be pathologic when those heart valves close very longly, very far. Anyway, so that's the first sound. Get it? The second heart sound I want to talk about is when a patient has a prosthetic mitral valve. Now, a prosthetic valve has a metal ball inside of a cage, and this ball will click every time you have a heartbeat, and it's very unique and noticeable when you hear it. So I decided that this sound probably sounds a lot like a snap, and I can use something like that, or a clap. Now, the last heart sound I want to talk about is from a condition called pericarditis. So itis means inflammation, and pericarditis is when you have inflammation of the pericardium, which is a sac that surrounds the heart, and it's a fibrous sac. So when an infection goes on in the pericardium and it gets inflamed, it gets a lot more tougher and a lot harder. So then the heart sometimes hits against it, and when it beats, it has a rhythmic sounding friction sound. So it's very distinct and unique and indicative of pericarditis. So those are all the sounds I'm going to try to use to make the beat with. Now give me some time to process them and I'll show you how they sound after I do some music production magic to it.
5 hours later.
All right, so now let's get to the entire song and how it sounds like all together. I add a little bit of effects and some snares, but nothing to take away from the foundation of the song. So without further ado, let's hear the beat. Now, if your heart sounds something similar to this beat, I highly recommend going to the emergency room because that is not normal. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel and become part of the classroom. Now, don't forget to take chances, make mistakes, and put the L in learning. And I'll see you next time. Peace. Why do I do that? We're gonna stop that. We're gonna just like